love Nevada. We love Nevada.
Donald Trump scores another big win and scores an endorsement from a San Diego Republican. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The story is coming up on KPBS Evening Edition. Also tonight, Comic-Con officials are weighing in on the Chargers' call for a downtown stadium. And parrots. Parrots are an iconic part of Ocean Beach life. So who is shooting the birds? You're watching Evening Edition on KPBS. Good evening and thanks for joining us. A San Diego Republican is one of the first sitting congressmen to endorse Donald Trump for president. Today, Duncan Hunter called Trump a strong leader. He told Politico that we don't need a policy wonk as president, we need a leader as president. Hunter says he and Trump are in agreement on issues such as border enforcement. The endorsement comes after another big win for Trump in Nevada. Associated Press reporter Sandy Kozel has the story.
We love Nevada. We love Nevada.
Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has his third straight victory. Trump decisively won the Nevada Republican caucuses on Tuesday night, following his first-place finishes in New Hampshire and South Carolina. The billionaire businessman can now claim wins in the Northeast, the South, and the West.
We won the evangelicals. We won with young. We won with old. We won with highly educated. We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated.
Trump finished far ahead of Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio as the two senators battled for second place late into the night.
History teaches us that nobody has ever won the nomination without winning one of the first three primaries. And there are only two people who have won one of the first three primaries.
Trump supporters say Tuesday night's results were no surprise.
He speaks from the heart, and he's going to make America great again. I believe in that. And the country needs a great leader again.
Well, listen, first off, people are finally understanding that the country's a business, and we need somebody who knows how to negotiate, build relationships, and handle things the right way.
Trump claims it's just a matter of time before he clinches the nomination. His opponents may be running out of time to stop him. Sandy Kozel, The Associated Press.
The vote on Measure A is still too close to call in Carlsbad. With more than 33,000 ballots counted, the noes are leading by just 186 votes. The final outcome won't be known till next week, but KPBS North County Bureau reporter Allison St. John says the close race is remarkable considering how much money was spent to promote the plan.
Carlsbad's special election has broken records in terms of money spent and voter turnout. Developer Rick Caruso spent 3 years and $10 million to build support for the high-end shopping center next to acres of preserved public open space. A unanimous city council approved the plan and the projected $2.5 million a year in extra revenues it would bring. But opponents say the plan was designed not for Carlsbad residents, but to attract millions of visitors a year, bringing unwanted traffic. They also object to the developer's strategy of avoiding more rigorous environmental review by using the citizens' initiative process. Many say they were angry when they signed the developer's petition for the first initiative last year, but they did not get to vote on it. And that indignation fired the second round of signature gathering, which led to Measure A. The neck-and-neck result is likely to give other developers considering citizens' initiatives pause. Registrar Michael Vu expects turnout to be around 56% once all votes are counted, higher than in most special elections or even recent general elections, which are often under 50%. More than 7,000 votes remain to be tallied. The registrar will release more results Thursday, Friday, and next Monday. From the KPBS North County Bureau, I'm Allison St. John, KPBS News.
And while the San Diego Chargers have come out in support of a downtown stadium plus a convention center expansion, Comic-Con officials are saying not so fast about the convention center part of the proposal. In fact, they say they're surprised the Chargers mentioned them in yesterday's announcement. A statement from Comic-Con says they have doubts that a multi-use facility would serve the best interests of potential conventions. Organizers of the pop culture convention say they believe an expansion is preferable. And today, the chairwoman of the convention center's board of directors said she is committed to a plan that keeps the center's floor space together. That's not part of the plan backed by the Chargers. The team has just 1 month to file their initiative with the city clerk's office and then begin the process of collecting petition signatures to get it on the November ballot. San Diego Unified has a new trustee on its Board of Education. She is retired teacher and administrator Sharon Whitehurst Payne, who has 44 years of experience in education, most of it with San Diego Unified. She will finish out Marnie Foster's term on the board. Foster resigned earlier this month after pleading guilty to receiving financial gifts over the legal limit. San Diego Democrats Scott Peters and Susan Davis both supported fast-tracking the Transpacific Partnership, a trade deal between 12 Pacific Rim countries. It made targets of traditional allies in the labor movement. And while union money has dried up, iNews Source reporter Joe Girardi reports that the worst of the threats haven't materialized.
Unions are letting Peters and Davis know they're not pleased about their pro-TPP votes. Between 2013 and 2015, contributions from unions to Peters and Davis fell by 82 and 90% respectively. Davis is in a safe seat, but Peters has had two very close elections in a row. The biggest threat, that the local labor council would run a primary opponent against him, hasn't happened.
I think that, at the end of the day, it's difficult to find someone from the Democratic Party who's going to match the district like I do.
Now, neither Peters nor Davis relied all that much on union support last election, so it's not clear how much damage this ultimately will do to them. What is clear is that both candidates will have to win without much labor backing in November. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source reporter Joe Girardi.
A local wildlife expert is asking for help to stop a rash of shootings of one staple of Ocean Beach. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh has the story.
They're an iconic part of Ocean Beach, but someone has been shooting the parrots on Point Loma. SoCal Parrot has been contacted about 3 birds being shot with a pellet gun since Friday. One bird was dead. The other was taken to the rescue center in Jamul, where it died around the time of our interview Wednesday.
You stay up all night trying to keep them alive, and there's just nothing we can do.
A third parrot was found dead near Mariners Cove Apartments on Point Loma. One of the birds were x-rayed to find a small pellet.
But we do want the community to feel that it's not right. I think most people in Southern California would agree that this is not okay. And so we definitely need the community to begin to push that culture of, not harming innocent animals.
Parrots aren't native to Southern California, though many species are threatened in their native habitat. They thrive on non-native plants and fruits, which are common in San Diego yards. Durham is pressing for local ordinances that would spell out that it's illegal to harm the birds. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
San Diego County health officials are reporting 5 more flu-related deaths, bringing the toll to 11 for this flu season. The state health department says this year's flu vaccine is more effective than the one used last year.
There was a very poor match, and the vaccine only had about 20% protection because one of the strains that was circulating ended up mutating and not matching the vaccine strain. This year, all indications is they got it right.
Doctors are reminding people to wash their hands and get their flu shots to keep the disease from spreading. The experimental drug Zmapp was given to a handful of patients during the recent Ebola outbreak. But at that time, no one knew if the San Diego-made drug would actually help patients get better. Now, KPBS science reporter David Wagner says researchers have reported on the effectiveness of Zmapp.
Initial reports from the first clinical trial of Zmapp suggest the drug may help people infected with Ebola, but researchers can't be sure because they weren't able to study enough patients. The National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which ran the trial, says there was no statistically significant difference between the survival rates of patients who got the drug and those who did not. UC Irvine public health professor and Ebola expert Christy Koenig says it's unclear whether Zmapp will be useful during the next outbreak.
It is encouraging that they didn't report any worse outcomes, but there's simply not enough patients studied to know whether it was helpful or not.
Zmapp was developed by a small San Diego biotech company called MAP Biopharmaceutical. In a press release about the trial results, MAP's president called the outcome encouraging. David Wagner, KPBS News.
California's health plan tax is on tomorrow's agenda at the Capitol. Lawmakers will vote on a new health plan tax that uses a revenue-neutral approach, meaning no new or increased taxes for state residents. California's current health plan tax only taxes plans that offer Medi-Cal services. The new version would expand the current tax to all health plans.
The tax that's imposed on the health care plans is being offset by tax reductions in other areas. And it's done in a way that is not only revenue neutral, but also guarantees that California does not leave $1 billion of federal money on the table that it needs to provide for health care services for the indigents.
The state could lose more than $1 billion in federally matched funds if lawmakers do not renew the health plan tax this year. A troubling trend for children in California. A recent survey reveals the state's child poverty rate is among the highest nationwide. Nearly 23% of California's children live at or below the poverty line. Lawmakers are pushing several bills to expand health care options, provide access to better education, and offer more meals to poor children.
We are making up for past disinvestments in the social safety net that have changed the playing field for children, but we're doing more than we have done. We still need to be doing much more.
It is unclear where the funding will come from for these programs. Former California Senator Leyland Lee is headed to federal prison to serve a 5-year sentence for racketeering. Yee admitted in a plea deal that he accepted thousands of dollars in bribes and discussed helping an undercover FBI agent buy automatic weapons from the Philippines. The news came as a shock to some supporters because Yee had been a vocal advocate for gun control. Yee was charged in a wide-ranging probe of organized crime in San Francisco's Chinatown.
I'm Gwen Eiffel on the next News Hour. Analysis of the Republican caucus voting in Nevada and what's next in the race for the White House. That's Wednesday on the PBS News Hour.
UNESCO says 3,000 languages spoken around the world are at risk of disappearing by the end of this century. Indigenous languages are at the highest risk. From our Fronteras partner, Cronkite News reporter Yahaira Jaquez takes us to a village where the native language is in danger of becoming extinct.
Tarahumara Indians have made Mexico's Sierra Madre region their home for centuries. Modern-day Tarahumara leave their mountain dwellings during harvest season to earn a living. These workers are catching a 6 a.m. bus that will take them to apple orchards. During this time, the Tarahumara come from La Sierra, which are the mountains that surround us, to work in the towns and pick fruit. They've realized that they need to learn Spanish because the people that they work for don't know their native language. A rare case is my grandfather, who learned the indigenous language as a kid and still uses it today.
Knowing the language helped me because before a lot of them didn't speak Spanish, so I interpreted for them too.
There are about 85 indigenous languages spoken in Mexico, and many are in danger of extinction.
It's a lot harder for them to go on with their day-to-day lives just speaking that indigenous language, so they adapt similarly to immigrants here and acculturate to the Spanish language.
The Mexican government passed a linguistic rights for indigenous people law in 2003, including the right to have legal documents translated to their native tongue. Critics say the law is not always enforced, and protecting native languages is about more than preserving the past.
Language is very powerful in terms of their own identity and future, right? And their future identity, not just like this is who my parents were, it's also this is who I am.
My grandfather is now the only one in this small town of 1,600 who is fluent in the Tarahumara language, serving as a bridge between Spanish speakers and native people.
Those who spoke the language left. Now, it's just me.
He remains a lone voice for the Tarahumara Indians who still need translation in a region where younger generations risk losing their native language. In Chihuahua, Mexico, Yahaira Jaquez, Cronkite News.
And as you may have noticed, San Diego is enjoying some beach weather today, but a high surf advisory is in place until tomorrow. Molly Cochran has more in tonight's KPBS Weather Report.
Well, we continue to be under some sunshine across much of Southern California, but there is something I want to show you on our satellite and radar, and that's some cloud cover offshore. This is actually associated with a storm system well off to the north, not going to be bringing in impacts to California or the Pac Northwest. However, we are dealing with some larger swells and also some rough surf associated with that storm system. So we do have a high surf advisory in effect across Southern California through Thursday until about 10 o'clock local time. That's p.m. Not only can we expect the higher surf, but larger swells as well as beach erosion and the threat for rip currents. So any beachgoers definitely want to check in with the lifeguard before heading into the water. Now, for the rest of tonight, things will remain quiet and dry across San Diego County. That does include Oceanside, back towards Camp Pendleton, Ramona, into San Diego, all looking quiet and dry. Overnight lows really not too far off from where we should be for this time of year, right at the freezing mark in Mount Laguna at 32, 42 in Borrego Springs, 40 in Ramona, Alpine at 47, San Diego at 54, a few degrees above where we should be, and 49 in Chula Vista. Now, as we head into Thursday, the dry, tranquil weather expected to hold across Southern California, plenty of bright sunshine, and our temperatures are on the rise as well. And again, just keep in mind if you're headed to the beach, those impacts being felt across the coastline through Thursday night. Here's a look at the coast as we head into our extended forecast. Upcoming weekend looking good. Temperatures in the 70s, still a few degrees above average from where we should be this time of year. Some fog to kick things off on Saturday morning. Could reduce visibility and cause for some slower travel, something to keep in mind, but we'll be back to sunny skies by the afternoon. As we check in farther inland, temperatures in the upper 70s Thursday looks to be the warmest day of the upcoming few. We'll be in the lower 70s for Saturday and Sunday. Again, that fog to contend with for Saturday morning, and then plenty of bright sunshine for the afternoon hours. Across the mountains, we'll be enjoying temperatures in the 70s for Friday, partly sunny skies. Will stay that way into the upcoming weekend. Overnight lows, though, good enough to need the heavy coat, as we will be right around the freezing mark. Here's a look across the desert. Temperatures in the mid to upper 80s for Friday, under partly sunny skies, 46 for a low on Friday night. And then we'll stay in the mid to upper 80s through the upcoming weekend, and that sunshine is expected to stick around as we head into Monday. Molly Cochran, KPBS News.
The second group of dogs rescued from a Korean dog meat farm are San Diego bound. Humane Society International rescued more than 50 dogs who've been living in poor conditions, with some suffering from disease and malnutrition. 21 dogs have arrived at the local facility this week, with 9 more expected to arrive. Most of the dogs are under the age of 2. Giving abused dogs seized from dogfighting rings a second chance at life. That's the message of a documentary screening in the California Capitol tonight. Reporter Lonnie Rivera shows how one California lawmaker is supporting the message.
It's a story of recovery and adoption. This documentary, titled The Champions, follows the story of a pit bull named Little and others rescued from the highly publicized fighting ring case of NFL quarterback Michael Vick.
Could spell the end of his NFL career.
Most of the dogs seized from Vick's Virginia property in 2007 were taken to a rescue in Salt Lake City, Utah, and brought to another facility in the San Francisco Bay Area in Northern California. These dogs were saved, rehabilitated, but that's not the case for countless others. Deemed too vicious, they are often put to sleep.
In California, under our present law, we don't examine or consider those dogs individually. If those dogs have been rounded up in a dogfighting ring, they're immediately put to death.
California Assemblymember Richard Gordon is pushing a bill that aligns with this message in the film.
If a stray dog is picked up on a street, the animal shelter has no idea whether that dog is vicious or not, so they do that individual examination now. What would happen under this bill is the dogs brought in through an animal fighting ring would also get that same individual evaluation.
The Champions documentary makes a stop in the California capital for a screening here at the Crest Theater. Their message, give abused dogs a second chance. But here in California, what's the price tag?
Well, actually, there's very little cost to this because currently animal shelters evaluate all dogs that come in to see whether or not they're vicious.
National humane groups join other critics who question the risk of re-entering these emotionally abused animals back into society.
We will be looking, as we work on this legislation, at the liability issues to make sure particularly that the animal shelters are protected.
But as the buzz around this film gains momentum, their hope is that the stigma surrounding these dogs will transform into acceptance.
If we can demonstrate that the dogs have been evaluated, that they're safe, that they're loving, that loving people will find a way to take them in.
In Sacramento, Lonnie Rivera reporting.
An art exhibit, currently at the San Diego History Center, features the work of San Diego artist Neil Shickley. He does large-scale portraits of people many would like to ignore, the homeless.
One of the reasons I do them so large is that when somebody's in a space with them, with my pieces, it forces you to see them and confront maybe that situation and making them visible again.
Invisible people, invisible structures will be on display at the San Diego History Center in Balboa Park through April 10th. Art lovers have a chance to spend one starry night in a replica of Vincent van Gogh's bedroom for only $10. The Art Institute of Chicago celebrating a new exhibit decorated an apartment to look like the painter's bedroom, listing it on Airbnb. Tracy Brown of the Associated Press gives us a look inside.
A struggling artist offers room for rent. The Airbnb listing says it's decorated in a post-impressionist style, reminiscent of southern France and times gone by. If the room looks familiar, that's because this is a faithful copy of master painter Vincent van Gogh's bedroom in his beloved yellow house.
We really wanted to bring the bedroom alive, and we wanted to bring the man alive. We wanted to show that he was someone who lived in a real place in Arles at a specific time.
Art lovers, for the princely sum of $10, get the chance to spend one night in the one-bedroom replica.
I think the life of Van Gogh is so well known, you can't separate it from the artist. And the idea of staying in his bedroom, where he slept, where he painted, is very, very moving.
The Art Institute of Chicago hit on this novel way to highlight their newest exhibit, featuring paintings of Van Gogh's famous bedroom.
This exhibit helped me to see him outside of being a painter. I've seen Van Gogh exhibits over the years, but this one really tapped into his being as a person. During some of the show, I found myself getting a little bit tearful.
It's the first time the three bedroom pieces have been exhibited together in North America.
Of which ours is the second one, painted a year after the first one, not in Arles, where he lived and where the bedroom was, but rather in the hospital, in the asylum where he was institutionalized.
The replica bedroom, designed by the Institute and found in Chicago's River North neighborhood, is listed on Airbnb as if the artist himself were renting it for cash to buy paint. A museum spokeswoman says February dates for the apartment filled within minutes of the promotion being announced. More vacancies will be announced by the Institute at a later date. Tracy Brown, Associated Press.
And recapping tonight's top stories, a San Diego Republican is one of the first sitting congressmen to endorse Donald Trump for president. Today, Duncan Hunter called Trump a strong leader. He told Politico that we don't need a policy wonk as president, we need a leader as president. Hunter says he and Trump are in agreement on issues such as border enforcement. And the vote is still too close to call in Carlsbad in the special election to decide the fate of a proposed shopping center near a lagoon. So far, opponents of the project are winning, but it's a thin margin, just 186 votes. We may not know the final count until next week. And San Diego County health officials are reporting 5 more flu-related deaths, bringing the toll to 11 in the county for this flu season. The state health department says the season got off to a late start, possibly because this year's flu vaccine is more effective. And a local wildlife expert is asking for help to stop a rash of shootings of one staple of Ocean Beach. Someone has been shooting parrots with a pellet gun. 3 have been shot since Friday. And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, a proposal in the legislature would expand family leave law by giving minimum wage workers a 15% boost. We'll tell you how it would work. And on Midday Edition, has El Nino fizzled out, or will it spark back up in March? That's tomorrow at noon on KPBS Radio. And as always, you can find tonight's stories on our website at kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great evening. Good night.